Hello, my name is Lee Havcost, and I chose a movie called The Good Mother, which was made in 2013. It is a Lifetime movie full of the kind of actors you might recognize, but you don't know from where. The plot is super predictable, but in a way that lends nuance to the subject matter. What is so fascinating about factitious disorder imposed on others, or Munchausen by proxy in popular parlance, is the mundane context in which the horror of it occurs. It would have been great to see this movie on a lazy Sunday morning, not knowing what it was about, so it could be all the more shocking. Part of the brilliance of this movie is the absolute banality of the life of the family that is the center of the story. Suburbs, country club, minivan, even the local drug addict is clean and attractive. The daughter of this addict is Jillian, the heroine of the film, who we meet in jail as the movie opens. Because of her neglectful mother, Jillian is a troubled teenager, but is bailed out by Cheryl Jordan, the kind-hearted mother of Jillian's best friend, Melanie. It seems Melanie has been sick for some time, and Cheryl is so grateful for Jillian's faithfulness to her friend and helpfulness to the family that she invites Jillian to come and live in her home. In one early scene, we see Cheryl ministering to Melanie, who is obviously miserable. Her patience and serenity in caring for her daughter are interrupted by Melanie's father, Scott, who insists that they should take Melanie to the doctor because she is in pain. It is obvious that Scott and Cheryl have been in conflict on this subject for a while, but Cheryl reminds Scott that she is a nurse and well equipped to care for her daughter. This, along with the scene in which Cheryl prepares a protein shake for Melanie, are the only clues about Cheryl's condition. In one early scene, we see Cheryl ministering. Pshaw. Not long after Jillian moves in, Melanie's rare illness takes a turn for the worse, and she ends up in the hospital after all. With her dying breath, she asks Jillian to protect her younger sister, Hillary. Of course, Hillary starts getting sick soon after, and while the family is at the hospital, Jillian overhears the nurses gossiping about Cheryl, her nursing career, and her parenting. Jillian follows up with some online research and discovers that Cheryl, once adulated head nurse in the pediatric ward of the local hospital, had been run out of her career by a lawsuit over the mysterious death of a child in her care. Cheryl gets wise to Jillian's sleuthing, and as she does, becomes increasingly stressed, her perfect mother act getting more and more frenzied. Huge kudos to the actress playing Cheryl Jordan. The bad acting of being a perfect mom and its subtle transformation to acting, bad acting, as her veneer starts to crack is great. It is finally discovered that Cheryl has been poisoning her children with ricin, a compound sometimes used experimentally to kill cancer cells. In a healthy human, it prevents cells from producing necessary proteins and leads to death. The good mother's portrayal of the perpetrator, Cheryl, is interesting because Cheryl appears completely ordinary. As it was acted, it took a lot of attention to notice the juxtaposition between Cheryl's total unflappability when she is in a position of care and her total hysteria when she is faced with having to allow actual doctors to take care of her youngest daughter, Hillary. During moments in which Cheryl is able to appear as the strong, long-suffering, saintly mother of a sick child, though she says all the right things, it is clear she can barely contain her delight. In a scene that takes place after Jillian starts to get suspicious and Cheryl begins to get worried, Cheryl is making the protein shake that is the staple of the sick daughter's diet. Her movement and demeanor are like someone being driven by outside forces, and when she reaches under the kitchen counter to unearth her secreted jar of poison, it is like that of an addict accessing her stash. After delivering the shake to her child and insisting that she drink it, Cheryl leaves the room, and upon closing the door, her face is so anguished that the viewer can see that she, too, knows something is wrong, but is somehow powerless to stop herself. It is revealed later in the movie that her own mother neglected her and made her feel invisible, a possible contributing factor to her mental illness. Others around her, her husband Scott in particular, did a great job of portraying the confusion of family and friends who sense something is wrong with what's happening but cannot put a name to it, and are as tormented by this nameless darkness as by the more tangible agony of the older daughter's death and the younger daughter's illness. I thought this movie was a compassionate look at the suffering and, in this case, death that can happen in a case of Munchausen by proxy, and I liked that it was less sensational than the more well-known case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I suspect that most cases like this are less public and so probably harder to detect, especially during this era when healthcare practices are so fragmented and having one regular doctor less common than it once was. In the end of the movie, Scott and his remaining daughter Hillary are setting off on a new life, and he remarks that Cheryl is getting the best care possible in a great facility. This final remark on the whole ordeal reminds the viewer that Cheryl, too, for all the pain she wrought, was also suffering. Thanks for hearing my review.